Hey, Prakash. Prakash, are you there?
Mick, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Morning.
morning. Hey, I'm still dealing with this cold, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to be contributing this morning.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
no problem.
but I'm
No
pretty much
problem.
out of it. So,
Okay. Yeah, let's see based on who joins if we have a strong agenda. I don't have anything in particular because we don't have any outstanding PRs.
we don't have
Uh,
any outstanding PRs. Are there other things that we should be, I don't know, kind of strategically thinking about? Because we could go through the issues list. That would be the other option.
definitely, definitely we
Um,
can do that. Let me share my screen anyway. One second. I'm still on. Okay. How do I share my screen? Oh, do you see the notes for the
yep.
meeting?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Um, yeah. So let's see who joins.
So maybe one thing we can talk about is um so we have I guess the two parts. We have some work to do to fill out the forms for the um
To moving it in.
incubation. Yeah, for the incubation project, and I think we can kind of work on that.
Yes, yes. So do you think that I know that David sent so uh we should add a link to this, probably to the Java doc.
Yeah, I think it would probably be a good thing to do.
Okay, so we're considering uh upgrading video to a Hyperledger integration project, uh, engagement plan, then plan separately, track. Yeah. Okay, just leave it there. Please feel free to please feel free comment.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what
And then I think the second thing we need is excuse me,
okay, this is the other thing
the
that they
process document.
yeah, this is a yeah, so policies and procedures, this one.
Yeah, hang on. It's
So when you say process, is it process with Hyperledger or like internal process that we need to do internal?
no, this is the Hyperledger process.
Okay, but is there
Hey,
anything
Marcus.
external? Yeah. Hey, Marcus, good morning.
So here's the link that I was referring to is this one,
Okay,
and I just put it in the chat.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey, this is Marcus.
Hey.
hey, Marcus.
So we had a meeting with Marcus. We just had a meeting with Hart and Dave Boswell yesterday, and they are encouraging us to consider a move to incubation process. Just what's your thought on that? as a PAC member?
I think it's great. But I mean, I think I would just repeat the things I said last time when we talked about this, that when this goes in front of the TOC will go through the list, which is there on the TOC governance page, and check the project for certain things like, I mean, active community, ideally more than one organization participating somehow, and things like that,
And
right?
is that the case for incubation? Because this was the convert, I mean, because this was my comment and the reason why we haven't done this up to now is because the community is just so small for it. And
Yeah.
Hart and Dave were kind of like, well, for incubation, you know, to enter incubation, a single company is fine. To exit incubation to a full-fledged project has to have is that
Yeah. Well, I actually I have to read how we define this in the TOC governance.
okay?
Maybe they're right. Maybe I just remember the rules wrongly. However, I think we also promoted some project to graduation. What was this? This was some JavaScript library for Web3. Forgot the name. But I believe there also the main driver was just one company. But I mean this project was very active. They had contributors from I mean just other contributors as well, because it was heavily used by many projects. So there, I think it was I mean, nobody asked, okay, wait, the maintainers are only from a single company, because there was so much activity from the community, or from some community, I must say, already.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, if Dave and Hart recommended, well, go for it, polish up everything, then yeah, why not doing it?
Okay.
Right? I mean, maybe we get some nice recommendations from the TOC in order to pimp up the project a little bit in terms of whatever. Or they may say, no, please, can you enhance certain aspects first and then incubate? Maybe that's also good feedback. But I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
why not
Either way,
just
getting
try
the
it?
feedback. Either way, getting the
Exactly.
feedback seems like a good thing to do.
Exactly.
So okay.
Yeah. So I have a quick question. So when you say contribution from community, like how do you measure contribution? Is it just software? Is it just code, or could it even be like issues, pull requests? I mean, the reviews, or even participation in these meetings.
Well, I mean, the easiest form of contribution, which I mean, someone can basically observe from the outside, is code contributions. And there is we have somewhere some statistics about projects where you can see the activity on a project. Let me quickly find the link. This is
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
we also run this for labs, and we can see something what's going on PDO. This is always super interesting.
Mick, how open are you to about we adding an ideas tab to our Git repo where like people can comment, make
Well, a what?
proposals, an ideas tab kind of, and it could be, it could, of course, it is a special issue, but explicitly calling it, this is what CCF does. So if we want a feature improvement from them, or we have a new idea as to how we could use CCF, they ask that we go and add a document to their ideas tab in their repo page.
Okay, I don't know what an IDS tab is. I've used
It just much like
issues and a few other things like that as a means of doing similar kind of things.
just see. I mean, it's no different than issues, but just a fancy name, more like. Yeah, they said, okay, they're calling it discussions. No, they're calling it discussions. So let me just paste it here.
And how's that different from like the Discord channel we're supposed to be using?
I mean, honestly, if somebody's looking at the repo, it's much easier for them to add a topic in discussion than coming to a Discord channel and tracking. Honestly, this is well categorized and it is a lot easier to use, at least in my opinion. Yeah, Discord is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can do like all kinds of things and so like even the things that that I wanted to ask them, like eventually, this is where I've asked.
Well, I mean,
they encourage us to talk to them.
so the thing that I was suggesting to Hart is the other approach we could do with this, which is to just start a weekly blog or
That's
a
absolutely
monthly
useful.
blog.
That is yes, correct. A monthly is a good target, and that's something that.
And then if you open that up, if you allow, a separate place for conversations to take place on that.
Oh yeah, we could add a comments section to each blog, and where people could come and comment, right?
Right.
Yes, definitely. That would be fantastic. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so this is very general questions about what the people ask, not specific, right? Even they want to ask general questions about what the project is, and they
Mhm.
ask us, and somebody comes and answers. Yeah,
Okay.
much like that Discord itself.
Yeah, I guess where I'm at is just if we do it doesn't feel like doing the passive things is really likely to end up bringing people. I think we need to do something active like the blogs or another one of the webinars, whatever that we were doing before.
No, that's correct. It has to be active. So that's exactly why I said discussions is. So for example, if for example in CCF,
Right, but the discussions we're still expecting somebody to come to us in the discussions. That's what I mean.
Yes, so this is primarily useful at a point where somebody wants to use this project but they don't know how to get started, or they have specific questions and they need a channel to get to us. And yes, I know that we expect them to talk to us by Discord, but Discord is unusable, to be honest.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying something completely different. What I'm saying is whether it's Discord or discussions or others, it doesn't help if the community doesn't know about you.
That is true. That I agree.
And,
that
and
is
the
a fair
first
point.
priority,
Yes,
the first
yes.
priority is to get
It's
people
blog,
to
yes,
know
yes.
about you.
Okay, that is fair.
So that's what
Okay,
that's what I'm
so
suggesting.
I think we could have we could line up topics for monthly blogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Okay. So we could do that next to be suggested next time.
Uh-huh. Marcus, you were starting to say something.
I was just thinking about, I mean, how many Hello World tutorials, easy starting examples do you already have in the repository?
We have some like that. I mean, we're using the Jupyter notebooks and you can kind of start up yes and no. It's pretty easy to start a Jupyter, from the contract side, to start something that brings up the Jupyter server with some of the existing applications in it, and you can interact with it in a pretty straightforward way. I mean, it's all Dockerized. fairly well. Building a contract is a much harder thing.
I think one possible just suggestion to address what Marcus is answering is on the PDF contracts page, we could give some quick instructions for how to get to a hello world interface.
Yeah, and in fact, the README is really needs to be replaced in there completely.
Yeah, that is this one, right? So yeah, here I should have enough instructions to quickly populate in Jupyter Notebook to see what I'm doing.
I mean, what I
Yeah.
like about the README is it is short.
It needs to point. I mean, at a minimum, it needs you to point to something more useful, and I think
Yeah, no,
that part
I
is
was kidding.
fine.
Because I was thinking about the FPC README, and this is way too large.
The FPC README, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to be concise on the README, but I mean, as a good starting point to give you pointers to all the different directions. I mean, yeah, how to start with the hello world, how to check out the repository and run the stuff in 5 minutes, and then have a very nice moment in life. So the user should really enjoy those 5 minutes. And if this is already pain, well, you can guess what happens.
Yeah. Well, and this does in some ways go back to, I mean, we've been trying to simplify the installation process and the rest
Right.
as much as we can, and we run into a little bit of our own problems, our own internal problems that we can't. I mean, we just can't push a Docker image someplace.
Yeah, so
which is really
about that,
unfortunate.
I tried to build the Docker images couple of not days, maybe it's weeks already. I think it's quite some time when we talked about this last time. But then I get kind of confused. What are the important images in the end of the day, which you need now, I mean, to just get started? Because I mean, there are the dev images, there are services images, and I mean, without spending a lot of time, it was not obvious to me what are the needed images.
Right. There's we do kind of a hierarchical version of this intentionally. Because there's the problem is there are 3 different roles that you can play. You can play the role, well, at least 3. You can be a ledger, which is sort of the consortium that runs things. You can independently host services that are contributing to it. Or you can develop or use contracts. And the images are really around those 3 different roles. And that was why we picked them that way. There's also a distinction between the dependencies, like the ledger has to have the CCF, has to be based on the CCF image. So it's kind of a pain, but it has to be a separate one. The services one incorporates the SGX SDK, so it's best to keep it separate. And then the client one really, I mean, to be honest, we're almost down to the point that it's just a bunch of pip packages for Python in order to do it. Not quite, but it's close to that. Right. So the hello world introduction for each of those roles is what we should, I mean, we should distinguish each of those roles and pull them out, and have a special kind of introductory document for each of those roles. So anyway, where I was getting back to, Marcus, is there are really 3 images ultimately that matter. The services image, the client image, and the ledger image.
So if those images are available on GitHub, then you basically can start coding and run the hello world in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, then we should try to get those images on GitHub. I mean, I know how we build the images and push them to GitHub in FPC. I could definitely try to do this for PDO. Just need to, well, understand what I'm doing there. So which make commands I need to run in that script.
Okay, so
I mean,
what
if it's just a make Docker, essentially somewhere.
it's, yeah, there's
It
a
is.
Docker
Yeah,
directory and it really is just make.
yeah, that's it. We just make and it'll make
So,
everything for you.
but I mean, I need to go, let me go back and make sure that I can just remove, because the services, there's the other reason why we split things up the way we do. So we have several other images. But the reason why we split them up that way is because the rebuild time, because you have to rebuild SGX SSL, which is a 10 to 15 minute process.
Yeah, yeah.
So we do this in a hierarchical way so that that only gets built once and it's independent of all of the actual PDO code. So, but I don't think once the services image is built, I don't think you need the services base, for example. So let me poke around with, I think I can do a couple of tests to make sure, but the point still comes back to
Yeah,
there needs to be a hello world. There needs to be a way in 5 minutes to get an environment set up that you can poke at and see what it's useful for. And I think that's a very reasonable goal.
Yeah.
Especially if we can push the images back. That they take longer to build, but
For the integration test you run on CI, do you build those images from scratch for every test? I think so.
yeah, because we can't push them to the hub,
Right. Okay, but okay, then this is also then nice
which is
for
insane. It
yeah.
is absolutely insane, and it's annoying as all get out. But the amount of effort for us to go through to change that is pretty significant. So
Yeah. Yeah, let's see if we can help. I mean the community.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hello world is good.
So, but I'll start I think we already have something, but I think we can go back and we should be able to do this. We have all the tools to be able to do it in place. You may have to wait for the Docker images to build, but you can definitely get to the point where you're running an application in 3 minutes plus Docker build.
So I sent you here in the chat the link to our GitHub actions. I mean, just given as an example. And so
Yeah.
what we're doing is, I mean, in FPC, we have the same thing. You need this base image, and then on top of the base image, we build this developer image, which we then use to run all the integration tests, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah. But so what we're basically doing in this GitHub actions here, we check if there are any changes on the Docker folder. If there are changes, then we basically rebuild everything. Okay. If there are no change, I mean, if there are changes only outside Docker folder, we just try to pull the images from our GitHub registry. And so this basically prevents us from rebuilding the SGX SSL code for every job we are running.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem that we've been trying to manage. And you have to have a Docker hub to do it. So Okay.
Yeah, but
So
again, I mean,
I'll take a
if
look.
I
I'll take a look
understand.
through this, but go ahead.
So what I mean, I would suggest the following thing. I mean, you go back to the README and basically double check that the instructions for getting started is complete in the sense that it's the creation of all the Docker images really works as expected and is well documented. And then you can ping me and say, hey, we believe this is working. And then I can try to adapt what we did for FPC and create a PR on PDO. And then we can see if this works.
Seems like a great idea to me.
Cool. Then let's do it.
And that gives us that definitely we have the responsibility of getting the hello world getting started work done.
Exactly.
And
And
it
then
has to be good enough that you can follow it to build the images, and then we can do the CI pieces on top of it.
right.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Prakash, does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what is the difference? Because one quick question, Marcus. You keep on saying GitHub registry and not Docker registry. So is there a difference between the GitHub's container registry and the official Docker registry?
Yes, one is hosted by GitHub and the other one is hosted by Docker.
So
But what's the visibility differences between the two?
Well, I mean, on Docker Hub, so I think Docker Hub is the default registry which is used if you try to pull something using the Docker command or the Docker CLI. So you don't have to specify the entire path repository. You just say Docker pull Ubuntu, and then it by default tries to look it up from Docker Hub, right? If you host your stuff on GitHub, you just have to give the entire name of the repository. Let me give you an example. I think we should have it somewhere in our Makefiles. And so what you can also see is then that they appear on the repository in the pages, sorry, on the packages. So you see them automatically. Can you open the Fabric Private Chain Code repository there in your browser?
yeah. Okay.
I can also send you the link.
Okay.
Bam.
Well, my computer is not frozen. Wow. Okay, my computer won't respond.
Are you
Okay.
breaking stuff
Fine.
again, Prakash?
Huh?
I said, are you breaking stuff again?
No. No, my computer decided not to cooperate for a second. Okay. This is the one, right?
Exactly. So, and if you scroll down a little bit on
Yeah.
the right side, oh, that's a little bit too much, to the go up where the contributors are appearing on the right side.
Yeah.
Right, and there also you see packages.
Packages, yes. Okay,
And
perfect.
those are the Docker images, basically. So
And
you
it's
can,
hosted by GitHub, so I can go to base dev
yeah,
and
exactly. So there you see the full URL is on ghcr.io.
okay, so GitHub container registry.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
And then you can see the different tags and blah, 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 blah. How
Oh, this
often
is
they got pulled.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool.
So Mick, this is for us to understand. So if this is how we're going to do it, right? This is being hosted as part of the same Hyperledger repo where the code is hosted. So how is it even being hosted by Intel, right? So directly
I
going
did,
to Docker is a problem, but this Intel might not have anything to object.
I
Because
think
it
that was
goes
an I think that was a very optimistic claim because Intel finds ways to object to things anyway.
okay. Now, but I will check with Mike Beal, because if you go to Docker, it has to be Docker hub / Intel / something, right? So then there is a problem. But here, there isn't anything to do with Intel.
I agree.
Okay, I will take this AR to talk to Mike Beal and find out if there is a concern here, because this will solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think it would also.
Okay. Okay.
Marcus, you really are a useful person.
This is very helpful. This is the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it is that we've been a lab forever, and we don't even think about stuff like this, and we're kind of constrained on what Intel tells us we can do. So
Yeah. I didn't even know until you told me now that GitHub has its own registry. Yeah.
No, I mean, this is super cool. I mean, also, the CI runner apparently has very fast access to that Docker registry.
right.
And so pulling the image takes like, I don't know, 20 seconds, whereas rebuilding takes forever.
Agreed. Oof.
Yeah, and you can also see here a very good example of how to not structure a README.
This is good. This is pretty good. And it's not too long.
It is too long for a starter page.
Well, you can't do. I mean, there's a lot of games you can
Yeah.
play with other things. So
Yeah, but this is honestly, it's not too bad. This is, yeah, this
and
is not too long.
GitHub is supporting notebooks these days.
They
No.
support a rendering of Python notebooks. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't run it, but you can render it,
Yes. And they still
which
don't,
means that you get the table of contents
still,
and a bunch of other nice
let I say
formatting
that they
things.
still don't probably support it for the pull requests to find differences. So that remains a problem. So when I saw this, that was the first thing I checked, and apparently that still is not.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, coming back to the actual question, I mean, what else could be done in order to, I mean, make PDO used by others?
Mhm.
Right. I mean, there was already this webinar. Did you receive any feedback afterwards from someone trying to play with it, or?
Not from anyone actually using it. We got lots of questions and lots of people asked us questions afterwards.
Yeah.
But nobody went off and did anything with it.
Yeah. We should
So
probably.
how many people are using FPC?
Who knows? Well, yeah.
So Marcus, I have a quick question. So do you think, I don't want to force anything to you, because both of these are projects that like enable smart contracts with SGX. So do you think there is a blog here that compares the two?
There's a what?
A
There's
blog.
a blog. It's a short write-up that compares why would you choose FPC and when, and why would you choose PDO and when. And
Good question. I mean, yeah, maybe it's worth a blog. I mean, I saw a bunch of papers,
we could even add Microsoft
PDO and
CCF to
FPC
them.
mentioned in the related work sections, but there we all only got devoted one sentence each. But yeah, I mean, so what would be the difference? The difference would be, if I think about that, would be, in fact, okay, FPC is tailored for Fabric, PDO, what is it tailored for at the moment? It used to be Sawtooth, but this is not the case anymore.
CCF.
It's tailored for CCF.
So
I mean, is that it? I mean, is that the line of thinking?
I don't think that's just it. Because I think so.
I mean, yeah, from the design technology under the hood, yeah, maybe there is more difference, but I mean, from the user perspective, do they care about that? Well, so where's the user coming from? I mean, if he's coming from the Fabric world, well, there is something for Fabric. Why would he care about PDO then? If you're not coming from Fabric, then
In general, he wouldn't.
right, then maybe you would, I don't know, look into. I don't know.
I think I think even just sitting down trying to articulate that would be a good thing, because it does help clarify what are the important characteristics of it. I've always looked at FPC as the system you go to, and PDO is the system on which you build stuff. Because the level of extensibility and dynamism is really different. So how do I add a new batch of code to FPC? I rebuild the validators, right? But with PDO,
so you were asking how to add a new piece of code to Fabric chain code?
Yeah. How do I add another bit of functionality to an FPC install? The code is the code is compiled in, right? That's my point.
Right.
And for PDO, the code is interpreted, so you can build whatever you want without changing the system. We built an interpreter. You built an execution for a system.
That's true, but I mean, this was basically
By the way,
do
not take this as criticism. It's just
because
there are pros and cons to both approaches. So
yeah, but I was just more thinking that this is basically the way how the execution, I mean, in Fabric works in general. And
yeah, you build a Fabric application.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying is that the idea behind PDO is that I run services and others can submit applications to it. We had this conversation when we first started building FPC about being able to do, loading WASM into it, and we decided not to.
Right.
So you compile a peer in FPC with the contracts already inside it. And you don't extend it once you do that.
So it's fair to say that FPC is a slight, it is more of a generalization of CCF from the perspective of deploying applications. It's sure FPC can deploy more than one application, but still you're compiling and deploying applications.
Correct.
But not running services where you could dynamically deploy applications.
Correct.
Okay, that's already
anyway. And by the way, I mean, I think the whole exercise of sort of classifying these different ones and what the functionality differences are, that would make an interesting
blog, right? Yeah.
Document, blog, whatever. I don't want to do formal papers.
Yeah, that's a blog. That's a good blog. Somebody wants to start. That's where they would start, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So could then the blog also, I mean, have some episodes about, I mean, potential use cases?
Definitely.
Yep.
Good, right? Yeah.
I mean, I mean, never used Jupyter notebooks, honestly. So I actually have no idea how easy it is. I mean, or what should I do with it? What are the things people write when they do use this?
We chose Jupyter Notebooks because it was the easiest way to get something that looked like an interface without having to be GUI developers. So
Yeah, where you can give the user still some control to change the code and see what happens.
But wait, what happened to your little Lisp interpreter?
oh, that one's gone. We do everything with WASM.
No
All the
Lisp
contract
anymore?
development. No, we removed it. I'm sorry, I don't do Scheme. It was Scheme rather than Lisp.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
And you can blame Bruno for that because he just categorically refused to do anything in Scheme.
and
So
me too. Yeah.
yeah, well,
You want to start a function
not
program?
everyone can be perfect and outstanding and amazing, and the rest of us, write code in C.
But
So-
so wait, so then that means you do Python to WASM, and WASM
No, C++
in
So
to C++ to Python.
So all of the client with, it's messy. Okay, so Python is used for all of the client code. The
Mhm.
contract code currently can be written in any language that can be compiled into WASM. Most
Okay.
of our contracts are C++. And Jupyter Notebooks and Python work very nicely together. I mean, Jupyter Notebooks are Python programs,
Right.
which was the other reason for doing it. So we didn't have to
So
go back and
the
rewrite
Jupyter
a
notebooks
JavaScript
are on the
library.
client side.
Yes.
I see.
So that's the kind of the layout. So contracts can be implemented in anything you can compile into WASM. But the tool chain that we currently support is a C++ to WASM tool chain.
And what are the steps to add a new language then for this WASM compilation? I mean, if I write a little Go code, I have to, I mean, I
The
need
Go
some
code can be
right?
converted in. Yeah, so the Go code can be converted. If you want to do support for it, there's basically 3 functions that you have to write, which we invoke externally from the interpreter. So you have to implement is it just that? In fact, it might even be just the dispatch function. And the API is actually well documented. Well, technically documented. There's not a lot of English around it. It has the JSON schema representations for all the calls.
So I have a question there to you, Mick. So if let's say I decide to write my contract in Go and eventually compile it to WASM that way, so how do I use some of the, I mean, can I use some of the base contracts or the extensions that we have today? Or
The extensions would be harder because you have to do the bindings between the language models and so all of the sort of data types that are in common are really
yes,
designed for C++.
yeah, okay,
But the only thing you really have to implement is the code in dispatch.cpp
okay.
because that's the only entry point we assume.
But the Go code writer would not have access to any of our crypto.
No,
that we
you can get it, but you have to do a language specific binding for it.
Okay, okay.
So we have a bunch of C++ specific bindings that we incorporate into it.
Yeah,
And
probably the
that's,
first
I
thing
mean,
is the
that's,
types
but,
is the
but to
pro-
be able to get, but to get Go code running, you really just, I mean, it's really comes down to, what, 3 functions? Like I said.
Okay. Sounds
Because the
great.
WASM doesn't, it just needs to define an entry point, and that entry point takes a JSON blob. And it returns a JSON blob. And what happens in the middle, we don't care. Your
Yeah.
WASM interpreter, I mean, the interpreter we have has those extension functions in them. All you have to do to use them is provide a binding from whatever the language is to it, which really means you got to figure out how to marshal parameters in and out for the extension libraries that we have.
Okay.
But I mean, seriously, that okay, I have not sat down to do it, but you know, if you can take Go and compile Go into it has to be Go without WASI, because obviously you can't call out, can't make system calls out of SGX.
Yeah, makes sense. I think
But
there's this tiny Go compiler.
yeah, there were a couple of things that we looked at a while back for it, but it's not okay. It's designed to not be hard to add a new language. I've
Yeah.
never sat down and actually done it because we
Mhm.
never had a need to. But
Well, I mean, I'm actually thinking about that because I'm wondering if people are happy with writing C++ code for contracts nowadays.
it's nice. There are pros and cons to it. I mean, okay, we say contracts, but remember that you know this is you can do quite a lot with this. Like, Prakash had TensorFlow running in it at one
Mhm.
point, so it's not contracts in the sense of Ethereum. You know, a tiny chunk of Ethereum code. It can do something significant. So.
Yeah. No, I get that it's super powerful and flexible.
But it's also a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I
So.
mean, from what I remember in FPC or the C++ stuff, I mean, yeah, it's not my world.
Oh,
And when we played with this Ego compiler and able to run basically any existing Fabric Go chain code with just one single or maybe 2-line modifications in the code,
changes. Yeah.
that was amazing. And there we also got feedback on Discord, and the people are looking into this, into the Go examples more than the C++ examples.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just throwing things here on the table where I maybe sense difficulties for
For people who are joining it. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, think about the kids. I mean, they start with JavaScript nowadays, right?
Yeesh.
Or
Well, and in theory, so okay, before I go to Go, I would do TypeScript, because in theory you can do compilation of TypeScript. Well, I would either do TypeScript or Python. Although Python to WASM is kind of a pain in the butt, because you actually compile the Python interpreter into WASM and then interpret the Python applications that way.
but
And
isn't it
I
the
don't know
same thing for Go as well?
I think the Go does something similar, but I think the TypeScript does not. I think there's a more direct LLVM.
How about using JavaScript? I don't know why you want TypeScript. Is it more
Well,
popular?
that's the TypeScript. I know we can actually go to WAMR development team, because I think they already have a tool chain for building on that. So
Okay.
So, okay, so this is maybe about language. So what about the deployment scenarios? I mean, do you have an Hello World example which explains how to run this on Azure somehow? Is there something special you need to do in order to run it on Azure with real SGX support?
Real SGX support is a real question, right? I mean, otherwise it's just Docker. You can run wherever you want. Yeah. So when you say
the simulator mode we run all the time, but it's the real SGX mode that's so
real SGX. Yeah. So real.
So
SGX.
Prakash, has your work, I mean, you've done this on Azure several times. Is there a way to just document what we do there?
We can definitely, but that's again with Epid. That's fine, right? It's not with DCAP.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we do have to, well, the decap issue has to be resolved soon.
it's running video end-to-end with SGX in Azure.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so that is
So I think that becomes another blog entry. Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. With Epid to support with Epid. Yeah, I deleted that one now. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm at the
Okay.
point I need to drop.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is
for
already
today.
good. Yeah, this has been very productive, I think.
So Marcus, we owe you a Hello World that gets you to the point where you can build the images and just the images you need.
I'm
And
looking
then,
forward to it already.
And then we're good. Okay.
By the way,
Super.
before you close, did you hear about the maintainers summit in October, which is in
No.
San Francisco?
It's in San Francisco this year?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So there is a how it's called? There's a member summit and the maintainer party. I don't know. Two different events. So one is the official Hyperledger blah blah executive partner friends and family event where only Hyperledger members can participate. And then there's also a maintainer thing. It's not a hackathon, it's not a summit because there is naming confusion. It's a maintainer thing for 2 days. And
Okay.
I believe also lab maintainers can go there. And it's meant to give maintainers 2 days to meet and collaborate and learn from each other and do whatever they want. And it's October in San Francisco.
That sounds like a great idea.
And I had some
Cool.
with the
Do you have a link for it, or can I grab? I'm assuming I could just get it off the Hyperledger
most probably.
page.
Yeah, I found it. I sent it in the link here in the chat. So
Super. All right. Like I said, I got to drop at this point.
Okay. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.